Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the channel. I still can't really get over what occurred yesterday. That insane fourth quarter comeback down 17-0 to the Saints. Packers scoring 18 unanswered points, including a 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter, and winning a game that pretty much seemed like it was definitely going to be a loss going into that fourth quarter. Just absolutely insane yesterday. The grit, determination, leadership, poise from Jordan Love, and just this whole football team as a whole to turn that thing around and end up with a win. So you know what time it is. It is Monday after the game, so that means we're going to be going over the PFF grades from yesterday's game, seeing all the highest graded players and lowest graded players on offense, defense, and special teams. If this is something you are interested in and you're a new viewer to this channel, I'd highly suggest going down and clicking that subscribe button. I post Packers news, analysis, and updates every single day, from injury reports, team analysis such as this, as well as live streams during the game. So if that does interest you, go down, click the subscribe button, and leave a like on the video.
Have you guys ever felt like your experience is holding you back from the career you truly want to pursue, which I can directly relate to when I started this channel back in 2013? Then I'm excited to tell you about today's video sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU is one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about their social media marketing program. In this program, you'll learn how to leverage social media to engage consumers, build loyalty, and drive business. This is a great program if you want to be a content creator like myself, a community manager, or a social media strategist. You'll also learn vital digital marketing skills such as SEO and how to run advertising campaigns, which is super important if you want to get into content creation such as YouTube. SNHU is also radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. So head to snhu.edu/Basaraski, which is also linked in the description, to see what the average annual salary is for a social media marketer, and also request free information about the program. And when you request information, a real person will hop on a call with you to discuss how the program can benefit you personally. It only takes one click to find your calling.
All right, so without further ado, let's waste no more time and bring up the screen and start going over the grades. Now, I'm going to start with the offense, just based off of that fourth quarter. Now, both sides of the ball played excellent in the fourth quarter. The defense, played great pretty much all game, in my opinion, only allowing 10 points from that Saints offense. But the offense just was so explosive in that fourth quarter, so I want to go over them first. And actually, if we see at the top here, we see Keyshawn Nixon at the top, the highest graded offensive player, which is funny to see. Now, it is only one snap. He just had that one end-around type of play, and he has a 78.8 grade. I really like seeing the Packers do that. They need to do that more, and I think now that it's on tape, if they start to use him or even bring him out in the field on offense, the defense is going to have eyes on him, and then you can kind of use him as a decoy in some way, shape, or form with, a fake, a play action end around, something of that sort, and a misdirection, something of that sort. I think that'll be very nice to use Keyshawn Nixon in, and I do see them bringing him out on offense more and more as the year goes on. Next, we see wide receiver Romeo Doubs, who had 5 receptions for 73 yards, and of course that touchdown, that go-ahead touchdown, that awesome fade catch on Isaac Yiadom, of all people, to basically tie the game and then the extra point winning the game. So we see Romeo Doubs here as the second highest graded player, a 73.8. He's been very impressive so far this year in the absence of Christian Watson. If we see here his grades all year, not a crazy great grade last week against Atlanta, but a really nice one in Chicago, and then a good one this week against the Saints, bringing his season grade right around 76.6. Romeo Doubs I've been super impressed with what he's been able to do as that #1 wide receiver, and I think Christian Watson coming back will only help this guy, will help the entire offense, because teams are going to have to shade a safety over Christian Watson, and that'll open up more 1v1 opportunities for Doubs, Reed, Musgrave, more opportunity across the middle for all those three as well. So I'm super excited to get him back into the lineup based on what we've already seen from Romeo Doubs and how that can get even better. Next, we see Rasheed Walker, the highest graded lineman on the Packers offensive line in this game, a 73.2. We'll go over all the pressures that were given up by these linemen here in a little bit, but he was the highest graded lineman with a really nice pass blocking grade, 77.2, 64.5. This Packers offensive line, whoever they throw out there, unless their name's Royce Newman, continues to impress. Like, Rasheed Walker looks like another slam dunk late round draft pick by Brian Gutekunst on that offensive line. I mean, this dude was a 7th round draft pick out of Penn State just 1 year ago. which is insane to say that he's our starting left tackle right now in the absence of David Bakhtiari, which is becoming an occurrence. So it looks like Rasheed Walker very well will be our future left tackle and keeping Zach Tom over on the right side. Now Zach Tom can play left tackle, and we see him as the second highest graded lineman here with a 68.7, a 71.4 pass block, and a 71.9 run block. Now I know he did leave late in the game for an injury. I don't know exactly what it was. I think it might have been a knee injury. So we'll get an update either today or tomorrow on that. So stay tuned on this channel. Hopefully he's all good to go. We can't suffer another injury on this offensive line. Although we still do have Josh Nijman, so it wouldn't be the end of the world, but it's like you need Zach Tom out there. As the same sense, you need Elton Jenkins and Bakhtiari, and they're still blocking very, very well in the pass game. Next, we see Tay Wicks, the second highest graded receiver with a 65.3. Very impressed with Tay Wicks so far through 3 weeks of this season, and the way he runs his routes, the way he gets open. I feel like this dude is always open. On that first 4th and 2, that flea flicker type of play, I mean, he was wide open. It was a block and release type of scheme there on the right side, fake toss, block and release, cross back to the left side. It was absolutely wide open for a chunk play, and obviously the pass was poor. Jordan Love slipped, and the ball got overthrown. Nonetheless, Tay Wicks has been excellent in his route running ability, at the top of routes, getting open, sinking his hips. You know, his release has been absurd, and I said it in my stream, I said it in yesterday's video. I mean, this guy, just the way he moves reminds me a lot of Davante Adams, and I know that's very, very high praise, and I'm not calling him Davante Adams or even saying he will be Davante Adams, but man, the way he moves reminds me a lot of him. Wicks finished this game with 4 receptions and 45 yards. Next, we see Jordan Love. He's finally a top 5 offensive player, if we don't count Keyshawn Nixon. So PFF has kind of been keeping him down near the 60s, which he still is. He's still a 63.9, and I think that's because PFF really weighs into, you know, turnover-worthy plays, plays left out on the field where players are wide open and he overthrows them, such as Luke Musgrave up that seam route. So I understand it, but when you look at what happened in that 4th quarter, right? All the adversity through 3 quarters without Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. With all that adversity, to come back in that 4th quarter, you know, stay confident and keep your head in the game and not get, you know, in your own head after an interception like you'd see most young quarterbacks, and come back and win that game with 18 unanswered points in the 4th quarter, I think is worthy of a top grade. Just my opinion. I know it's 4 quarters. It's not just about 1 quarter, but at the end of the day, the Packers won that football game in the 4th quarter. Like right now, when you look at quarterbacks on PFF through the first 3 weeks, I mean, Jordan Love is all the way down here at 21, below Danny Jones. Like, I don't see it. Below Josh Dobbs, who had a great game yesterday. We see other players out here, Deshaun Watson, Jimmy G, Mac Jones, Tannehill. There's so many quarterbacks above him that right now, I just don't see them as better than Jordan Love. So I know, you know, it's opinionated in terms of what you think of PFF and whatnot, and there is times when, you know, the grades do make sense, and there's a lot of times when they don't, and I understand why he wouldn't be at the top of the list here, but 21st doesn't really sit right with me. Next, we see A.J. Dillon, who continues to be like a top 7 PFF grade, yet not running really well, and that's because the run blocking has just been abysmal. We see A.J. Dillon with a 62.3, did have an absolutely atrocious pass blocking grade of 5.2. Now that's only in 1 rep, so I think that was when the nickel blitz came and sacked Jordan Love. I think that was A.J. Dillon's assignment and just completely missed him. So that makes sense why he would have a 5.2 there. Patrick Taylor next on this list at 61.2. Josh Nijman came in for 2 snaps at 60.0. Josh Myers, middle of the pack here at a 58.3. We see Luke Musgrave at a 57.9. I feel like he should be higher. You know, I don't know if the PFF is tying that seam route to him. You know, as a cover 2, against a cover 2, you kind of want to be in between those safeties and not flatten it out towards the free safety there. So to me, it was an overthrow for Jordan Love. Like, yeah, Luke Musgrave could have stayed a little flatter, but like nonetheless, it was still an overthrow. But a lot of action from Luke Musgrave yesterday, which I love to see. 6 receptions on 8 targets for 49 yards. So getting a lot of volume yesterday. I want to see that volume continue for Luke Musgrave. We see Jaden Reed here at 57.9. Now this makes sense just based on the drops that he had, right? The flat route in the end zone where, you know, caught the ball, tried to run before he really secured it, ended up dropping it, which would have been a touchdown. The corner route where he had made a really, really great catch, but has fallen to the ground. Alontae Taylor's foot knocked the ball out. Got to hold on to that too. But he came back to it, and he dropped a corner route as well. But he came back to it where it meant the most in that fourth quarter. That slot fade diving catch on Alontae Taylor to allow the Packers to go down to score and win the game. So I understand the low grade here, but I was still impressed with Jaden Reed to come back from adversity as well yesterday. Samori Toure, a 53.9. Malik Heath, a 53.3. Going down into like the low grades on offense, Tucker Kraft and Malik Heath only got 10 snaps, 11 snaps respectively. Tucker Kraft, a 50.4. We see Royce Newman with a 50.1. That's all I have to say. John Runyon with a 48.3. Hasn't been too hot this season. If we look at his grades all season, his best game was week 1 with only a 63.1, then a 56 last week, a 48 this week, and an overall grade of 54.5 has been pretty abysmal in the run blocking grade. So, it makes sense why this run game and this run blocking is not good. Josh Myers, Royce Newman, John Runyon haven't been good in the run blocking game, so it's kind of hard to run inside when those guys can't run block. Then we see Josiah DeGuara, who I think's been the lowest graded player maybe 3 weeks in a row. I don't know if he was week 1, but he was down there. But last week he definitely was. This week he definitely was. I mean, it's just abysmal grades all around. Like, his overall grade is a 35.1. That's got to be on the bottom for tight ends. Like, honestly, I'm going to look. He's very close. He is in the bottom 3, right above Brock Wright and Trevin Wisco, right below our man Robert Tonyan. So really, really abysmal start to this season for DeGuara. Now going over the pressures for the offensive linemen at the top. We see Royce Newman, 4 total pressures, more than all the other linemen combined, I believe, because Zach Tom with 1, Rasheed Walker with 1, Josh Myers with 1. So 3 pressures for the rest of the linemen and 4 total for Royce Newman. Again, it's crazy to me that the Packers keep putting this guy out there. I feel like it would be just a complete better idea if you don't have Elton Jenkins and you don't have David Bakhtiari, is to put Zach Tom at left guard and bring in Yosh Nijman. Like, I feel like at this point it's a between Yosh Nijman and Royce Newman thing, and I feel like Yosh Nijman definitely is better, even at right tackle. So, that's what I would do. It just seems like Royce Newman is continuing to be a problem no matter what. So I wish they would make the change, and I think the run blocking would get a lot better, but, the Packers likely won't. They'll keep trotting Royce Newman out there. I don't know why, but that's what's going to happen. We see John Runyon didn't allow any pressure, so good pass blocking grade. The reason he's so low is the run blocking grade, a 34.1, as I mentioned earlier. A problem with these interior linemen. All right, so now let's go over the defense. And at the top, honestly, was pretty shocked to see this. Rudy Ford with an 88.2. Now, I didn't think he had a bad game by any means compared to like the first 2 weeks, but I didn't think you'd have an 88.2. 61 total snaps, an 88.2, 72.7 run defense, 84.8 tackle grade, 81.4 coverage grade. He had 7 tackles, 0 missed tackles, 2 stops. He allowed 1 reception for 4 yards on 4 targets. So Rudy Ford definitely had his best game of the season, because if we go into his profile here, below a 56 the first 2 weeks and then back up to an 88.2. So Rudy Ford is kind of like that last year, where some games he would be pretty bad and then there's games where he'd be amazing. And I guess yesterday was one of those really great games. So Rudy Ford at the top here. We see Devondre Campbell, only 11 snaps left with an injury, didn't return. Definitely something to monitor going into this Thursday. Likely won't be playing, if it's my best guess. A 79.3. Grade here for Devondre Campbell with 2 tackles. Rashawn Gary, man, what a game for Rashawn Gary. Definitely the player of the day on defense, in my opinion. Now, he only had 23 snaps. So last week you saw him with 22 snaps, and I thought he'd get more around 30, but you really didn't need him to. I mean, the guy had 20 pass rushing snaps and 3 sacks, 5 pressures, 3 stops. It's absolutely absurd to get that much, on your stat sheet in terms of pressure, sacks, stops, and all of that with 20 pass rushing snaps. Like, that's insane. Like, 1/4 of the time you rush the passer, you created a pressure. They need to pay Rashawn Gary. 100% they need to pay Rashawn Gary. And I know some people will always say, he doesn't set the edge well, and he's not that great against the run. Rashawn Gary's out there to go take down the quarterback, okay? It would be great if he gets better against the run and sets the edge better against run plays, but he gets the quarterback, and that's exactly what he did yesterday with 3 sacks, 77.8 grade, 73.9 pass rush grade. Pay the man. Then we see Rasul Douglas at 75.7, just been solid all year, Rasul Douglas. Now, he does have a missed tackle, so that's why his tackle grade is so low, but Rasul's been solid all year, had a good game yesterday. Keyshawn Nixon, a 74.2, so nice to see him continue his hot streak. Yes, last week he had a good grade, this week he had a good grade. Now, last week he didn't play too many defensive snaps, but he did here. Now, weirdly enough, they have him at strong safety, not slot cornerback, so I don't know where exactly he was lining up most of the time, but he did have 45 total snaps. Not great in run defense, but good in tackle, good in coverage, allowed 2 receptions on 2 targets for 20 yards and had 3 total tackles. My main Carl Brooks here at number 6 with a 71.7. Not great in the tackle grade because he missed 1 tackle. Like with PFF, if you miss 1 tackle, you are getting like a horrible tackle grade, which is crazy. Anytime someone misses even 1 tackle, their grade is just completely plummeted for tackle grade, which lowers their overall grade. TJ Slayton, a 70.8. I think he had a pretty bad grade last week, so nice to see a bounce back there. Devontae Wyatt, a 68.0. The whole defensive line had bad grades last week, so really nice to see them bounce back here. Lucas Van Ness had 12 snaps. No one to see him getting more snaps, maybe that he was kind of on a snap count because of his elbow injury. 66.9, didn't get a pressure, didn't get a sack, only had 1 tackle, the 1 stop there. Preston Smith, a 66.4. JJ Enagbare, a 64.8 with 1 pressure. Eric Wilson had 1 pressure, 8 total snaps. Darnell Savage had a 63.2, so not a great grade here, but Darnell Savage seems like a completely different player this year. He's been flying around the field. I feel like he's just playing more to his game, like I've said, downhill, read and react type of safety, and his energy is very high, like a lot different than it's been in past years. So that's definitely been a nice change there. He had 5 total tackles. He had 1 missed tackle, so that's why his grade definitely is going to be lower there. And he allowed 3 receptions on 3 targets for 15 yards. Kenny Clark, a 63.2. Corey Ballantyne, I feel like he should have been higher. Like, Corey Ballantyne came in as a practice squad call-up after Valentine went down, and I thought he had an excellent game. Now, he did allow 4 receptions on 6 yards for 50 yards, but the one was a deep ball to Olave, and it was just an excellent play by Olave. Like, Ballantyne was in good coverage, just Chris Olave. Like, we saw him catch a one-handed catch on the sideline, and then the one against Ballantyne here. He's a great wide receiver, so you can't get too mad at it. I thought Ballantyne did an excellent job filling in, considering the circumstances. He had a 60.0. Brenton Cox Jr., his first NFL game, he had 1 snap. Colby Wooden, 10 snaps, had a pretty bad grade, 58.7 with a really bad tackle grade. Isaiah McDuffie had 37 snaps, pretty low grade, 57.9, but had a nice tackle grade. Justin Hollins, 56.6. Carrington Valentine had 32 snaps before his injury, didn't have a great grade, 52.7. Allowed 1 reception on 3 targets for 27 yards. And then finally, Quay Walker, all the way at the bottom. So Quay Walker was the highest graded player the last 2 weeks, and now the lowest graded player in this game, a 43.6. It says he has a bad run defense grade, a 50.8, a bad pass rush grade, a bad coverage grade. Only thing he has a good grade in is tackling, where he made 4 total tackles. He also had 1 pressure. I've been impressed with him so far this year. The first 2 games, you know, it's okay if he has a down game or whatnot. I thought that defense overall played well, and other players stepped up where maybe he had, you know, kind of an off game. Now to go over the special team top players and bottom players, we see Josiah DeGuara up here, top special team player. So although horrible grades on offense, at least this game he did well on special teams, had a special teams tackle. Same with Darnell Savage, a 68.5, and a special teams tackle. And Eric Wilson, we see Eric Wilson. I mean, he's just a great special teamer. At the bottom, Rasul Douglas, a 33.7. He had a penalty. JJ Enagbare, a 35.3. He had a penalty. Jonathan Owens, a 40.0. He had a penalty. I mean, there were just so many penalties to go around, especially on special teams, offense, defense. There's, I think, 11 total penalties. And I believe Rasul Douglas was on special teams because of all the injuries. Like, I don't believe he normally plays special teams, and he had a penalty. So, got to clean up the penalties. I think the Packers are their most penalized team in the NFL. I mean, that's just like a discipline issue. We got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. You know, luckily, we're able to come back in this game down 17-0, which is not a normality. So you got to clean up these penalties and these mistakes that you can control. So those are all the PFF grades from Week 3 Packers versus Saints in an epic game. I mean, probably one of my favorite games I've watched in a very long time, just because of the roller coaster of emotions in this game. Like, going into halftime, even into the third quarter, you're like, what is this offense doing, right? Like, what are we doing? We're not getting anything going. Jordan Love can't hit passes. You know, receivers are dropping passes. We can't run the ball. And then we go into the fourth quarter, and it's like a switch just flipped, right? This offense, Jordan Love is just on fire, hitting every throw. Some receivers still dropping passes, but he's still coming back and making plays. That read option on the goal line, just absolute awesome. The run play up the left sideline. Jordan Love, just a switch flipped in his head in that fourth quarter. He stayed poised, and the Packers came back and won this thing. They have a very short week this Thursday versus Detroit. At least they'll be able to stay in Lambeau for this one. Hopefully we can get back Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, maybe Bakhtiari, Jair Alexander, and we'll see updates on Zach Tom and Devondre Campbell as the week goes on. But that about does it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like down below. Let me know down in the comments what grades you agree with or disagree with, and which ones you're surprised with. Let me know down below. But that about does it. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.